Welcome to the Ultimate Sports Blog Podcast. Today is Wednesday, January 16th, 2019. Today I'm going to recap the college basketball games from last night, as well as NBA and NHL, and look ahead to tonight's games in each of those three sports. Go over the Australian Open from both the men's and the women's sides, and predict tonight's matches, which concludes round 2. NFL power rankings between the 4 teams that are left in the playoffs, and then look ahead in the crystal ball and predict storylines that are possible within all 4 possible Super Bowl matchups. To college hoops we go. We'll start with Tennessee, the number 3 team in the country, defeating Arkansas 106-87. A good win for Tennessee. They're 15-1 and Arkansas is 10-6. Number 4 Virginia defeats number 9 Virginia Tech 81-59. Impressive win for the Wahoos as they go to 16-0. Virginia Tech drops to 14-2. Number 10 Nevada defeats Boise State 72-71 on a game-winning field goal by Cody Martin with 4.5 seconds left to avoid the upset. Nevada 17-1 and Boise State drops to 8-9. Number 12 Kentucky defeats Georgia 69-49. Impressive win for the Wildcats. They're 13-3. Georgia's 9-7. Number 13, North Carolina defeats Notre Dame 75-69. Good bounce-back win for Roy Williams' team. They're 13-4. Notre Dame is 11-6. Number 15, Marquette defeats Georgetown 74-71. Marquette is 15-3, and Georgetown is 12-6. Number 16, Buffalo defeats Western Michigan 88-79. As Buffalo goes to 16-1, and Western Michigan drops to 6-11. Wake Forest upsets number 17 North Carolina State 71-67. A great win for Danny Manning's program. Wake's 8-8 and NC State is 14-3. LSU upsets number 18 Ole Miss 83-69. A good win for the Tigers. They're 13-3 and so is Ole Miss. Number 24 Mississippi State defeats Florida 71-68 on a go-ahead 3-point play by Quindary Witherspoon with 3.4 seconds left. Mississippi State is 13-3, and Florida is 9-7. Providence defeats Seton Hall 72-63. Providence 11-6, Seton Hall 12-6. Illinois State defeats Southern Illinois 59-58. Illinois State 10-8, Southern Illinois 9-9. TCU defeats West Virginia 98-67. TCU 13-3, West Virginia 8-9. Akron defeats Eastern Michigan 51-49, Akron 10-7, Eastern Michigan 8-9. Cincinnati defeats South Florida 82-74, Cincinnati 15-3, South Florida 12-5. Kent State defeats Ohio 66-52. Kent State 13-4, Ohio 9-7. Purdue defeats Rutgers 89-54, Purdue 11-6, Rutgers 8-8. Toledo defeats Miami of Ohio 71-59, Toledo 14-3, Miami of Ohio 8-9. Bowling Green defeats Ball State 79-78, Bowling Green 12-5, Ball State 10-7. St. Louis defeats Fordham 63-60. St. Louis 13-4. Fordham is 9-8. Morgan State defeats Howard 89-86 in overtime. Morgan State is 7-10 and Howard is 7-11. Loyola Chicago defeats Valparaiso 71-54. Loyola is 11-7. Valpo is also 11-7. Central Michigan defeats Northern Illinois 78-69. Central Michigan 14-3. Northern Illinois 10-7. So I called that upset on the podcast yesterday. St. Joe's upsets Davidson 61-60. St. Joe's gets its first win in conference play. St. Joe's is 8-9 and Davidson's 12-5. San Diego State defeats New Mexico 97-77. San Diego State 10-7. New Mexico 8-9. Tonight's slate, 6 o'clock on CBS Sports Network, you have St. Bonaventure at Rhode Island. I like Rhode Island to win and cover the 6. Creighton is at St. John's, 6:30 on Fox Sports 1. Must win for St. John's, and I think they get the win. Hopefully, Shamari Pons is back for the Red Storm. In this one, number 14, Auburn at Texas A&M, 7 o'clock on ESPNU. Trap game for the Tigers, yes, but I think they win and cover the 6.5 easily. Although you could make a case for Texas A&M, at least covering, because Auburn could be looking ahead to Kentucky. Actually, I'm changing my mind. I think A&M covers, but Auburn wins by, like, say, 3. Kansas State at number 20, Oklahoma on ESPN2 at 7 o'clock. I like Oklahoma here to win and cover. I just like how that team's been playing so far. Number 23, Iowa at Penn State, 7 o'clock on the Big Ten Network. Penn State is somewhat a 2-point favorite. The wrong team's favored. Iowa is going to win and cover. I should say win outright, as they'll easily cover because they're the dog. Longwood at Winthrop. Boston University at Loyola, Maryland. South Carolina Upstate at High Point. Navy at Lafayette. Vermont at New Hampshire. Lipscomb at NJIT. South Carolina at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's a 3.5-point favorite. South Carolina is undefeated in SEC play. And guess what? I'm taking the Gamecocks outright on the road. Darius Garland is not present for Vanderbilt. I think they'll miss him. I keep mentioning this. I'm very anti-Vanderbilt because of no Darius Garland. I like how South Carolina's played in conference play so far, and I think they get the win here on the road. Campbell at UNC Asheville, American at Lehigh, Northern Alabama at Jacksonville, Albany at UMass Lowell, Hartford at Maine, Liberty at Kennesaw State, Hampton at Presbyterian, North Florida at Stetson, Boston College at Louisville. Louisville's favored by 11. I think they win. And do they cover? I'm going to say Boston College covers. I think that game's closer than the 11-point spread. Duquesne at Richmond. Richmond's a 2.5-point favorite. That is a weird line to me. I think Duquesne's the better team and will pull off the road upset. UConn at Tulsa on ESPN News. This is a pick'em. Tulsa's home. Give me Tulsa to win. Temple at East Carolina. Temple's 8.5-point favorite. I think Temple wins, but East Carolina covers the 8.5. East Carolina has been surprisingly competitive in AAC play thus far. Binghamton at UMBC, Colgate at Army, George Mason at UMass. UMass is favored by 2.5. I think they win and cover. I just think they're better than George Mason, even though George Mason has the better record at 9-8, and UMass is 7-9. A&M Corpus Christi and Sam Houston State at 7:30. Nichols at McNeese, Drake at Bradley at 8 o'clock. Bradley's favored by 3.5. I think Drake's the better team. Yeah, they lost their last game, but I think they bounce back and get the win on the road. Houston Baptist at Abilene Christian, Stephen F. Austin at New Orleans. South Dakota State and North Dakota. Indiana State at Northern Iowa. Northern Iowa is a 3-point favorite at home. I think Indiana State pulls off the upset. George Washington at LaSalle. LaSalle's favored by 6. That line's too big. I think George Washington covers. I think they can win outright, too. Lamar at Southeast Louisiana, Central Arkansas and Incarnate Word, Evansville and Missouri State. Missouri State's favored by 5.5. I think that line's a little big. I'd take Evansville and the points there. 8 o'clock on CBS Sports Network, Dayton at VCU. Big game in the A10. I think VCU's the better team, and I think they'll cover the point spread and win the game. 8:30 on Fox Sports 20 at Butler at DePaul. Butler's a 2.5-point favorite. I can't believe I'm doing this. I am picking DePaul off the home upset. They've been surprisingly decent in the Big East, and I think that Butler's been vulnerable, and they lose these types of games. DePaul had a good win at St. John's. Granted, no Shamari Pons there. They beat Seton Hall. I think they can beat Butler, and I think Seton Hall and St. John's are better than Butler. And guess what? I'm taking DePaul off the outright upset at home. The Big East isn't bad. There's no bad teams in the Big East this year, and I can't believe I'm saying that because I thought DePaul would be the only relatively bad team in that conference this year. But, hey, that conference is wide open, and anything can happen on any given day, so give me DePaul at home. Iowa State at number 8, Texas Tech, 9 o'clock on ESPNU. I think Texas Tech wins and covers. They are the better team. Number 21, Houston at SMU. It's a pick'em. I think SMU picks off the Cougars at home. Cougars are the better team, but I just think that the Mustangs have a trick up their sleeve tonight. Alabama at Missouri. Alabama's a 1-point favorite. Missouri's home. Give me Missouri there. North Dakota State at Denver. Georgia Tech at Clemson. I think this is a bit of a letdown for Georgia Tech after the big win at Syracuse. So give me Clemson the win, and I think they cover to 8. I don't feel good about the cover part. I feel good about the win part. Minnesota at Illinois, 9 o'clock on the Big Ten trap game for the Golden Gophers. I can't believe they're only favored by 1.5. Someone knows something, but that said, I'm taking the Gophers. They're just a better team than the Fighting Illini this year. Long Beach State against UC Irvine at 10 o'clock. UCF at Wichita State. UCF's a 2.5-point favorite. They're going to win and cover. Wichita State is not the Wichita State of old this year. Utah State at San Jose State. Utah State's favored by 18. I think they win, but San Jose State stays within the number. UNLV at Air Force, 11 o'clock on ESPNU. UNLV is a 5-point favorite. I think they win and cover. I don't think Air Force is a good team. NBA. The Pacers defeat the Suns 131-97. Good win for Indiana, taking care of business against a bad team. They're 29-14. Phoenix is 11-34. Bojan Bogdanovic, 20 points. Miles Turner had 18 in his return. Darren Collison had 15. Victor Oladipo only had 8. Thaddeus Young had 12 off the bench. Domantas Sabonis had 14. Corey Joseph had 10. And Tariq Evans had 20. TJ Warren had 18. DeAndre Ayton had 14. Off the bench, Rashawn Holmes had 13. And Kelly Oubre Jr. had 16. The 76ers destroyed the Timberwolves 149-107 in Jimmy Butler's first game against his former team. Philly is 29-16. Minnesota's 21-23. A very impressive win for the Philadelphia 76ers. A bit of a feel-good win for them. Joel Embiid, 31 points and 13 boards. Wilson Chandler had 14. Ben Simmons had 20 points, 11 boards, and 9 assists. Jimmy Butler had 19. J.J. Redick had 15 off the bench. Landry Shamet had 12. Jonah Bolden had 15. Or actually, no, 14. My bad. Meanwhile, for Minnesota, Taj Gibson had 10. Andrew Wiggins had 12. Karl Anthony Towns had 13. Jeff Teague had 11. Off the bench, Dario Saric, the former Sixer, had 11. Luol Deng had 11. And Derrick Rose had 15. The Hawks upset the Thunder 142-126. Just a gruesome loss for the Oklahoma City Thunder, who dropped to 26-17. Atlanta 14-30. John Collins, who's making an all-star case in the East, 26 points. Trae Young had 24 with 11 assists and 6 boards. Kevin Huerter had 17. DeAndre Bembry had 16. And Omari Spellman had 10. Off the bench, Vince Carter had 11. Alex Len had 24 with 11 boards. For OKC, Paul George 24 with 8 boards. Jeremy Grant had 21. Steven Adams had 16. Russell Westbrook had 31 with 11 assists and 6 boards. And off the bench, Dennis Schroeder in his return game to Atlanta had 21. The Bucks defeat the Heat 124-86, an impressive win for the Milwaukee Bucks as they go to 31-12. Miami drops to 21-21. Eric Bledsoe had 17. Giannis Antetokounmpo, look at this stat line: 12 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists. 25 minutes for a triple-double for him. Chris Middleton and Brook Lopez each had 11. Malcolm Brogdon had 16. Off the bench, Sterling Brown had 13, and Tony Snell had 10. Justice Winslow had 19 with 5 assists and 5 boards. Hassan Whiteside had 19 with 8 boards, and Miami's bench didn't do anything. The Warriors destroyed the Nuggets 142-111. Impressive win for the Golden State Warriors. They are 30-14. Denver drops to 29-14. Golden State is now in sole possession of first place in the Western Conference. Kevin Durant, 27 points, 6 assists, and 4 boards. Stephen Curry, 31. Klay Thompson had 31. Off the bench, Quentin Cook had 11. Meanwhile, for Denver, Malik Beasley had 22. Jamal Murray had 21. Nikola Jokic had 17 with 8 assists. Paul Millsap had 10. And off the bench, Will Barton had 11. The Lakers defeat the Bulls 107-100 in a much-needed game and a much-needed win for the Los Angeles Lakers. They're 24-21. Chicago's 10-34. Lonzo Ball, 19 points, 8 boards, and 6 assists. Contavious Caldwell-Pope had 17. Brandon Ingram had 16, as well as Kyle Kuzma with his 12 boards. And Ingram, by the way, had 7 assists and 9 boards. Bench didn't do anything. Lauri Markkanen had 17. Chandler Hutchinson had 12. Zach LaVine had 10 with 8 assists. Off the bench, Jabari Parker had 18. Ryan Arcidiacono had 12 off the bench. And Shaquille Harrison had 10 off the bench. Tonight's slate is a little bigger. 7 o'clock, you have the Magic at the Pistons. 8 o'clock on ESPN, the Raptors at the Celtics. Celtics favored by 2.5. The Celtics have not played great of late, especially away from their home building. The Milwaukee Bucks destroyed the Celtics in Boston a few Friday nights ago on ESPN. The Celtics since then have been great at home but bad on the road. Tough call here. TD Garden's going to be fired up. Jason Tatum's coming off a good game. Kyrie Irving might be back for this game. Let's assume he is. I think he will play. Al Horford should be able to go. Gordon Hayward's been playing well at home. Been a little bit better of late. So let's take a flyer and take the Celtics at home, even though the Raptors are the better team. I think TD Garden prevails the Celtics a little bit in this one. The Nets at the Rockets. The Bucks at the Grizzlies. 8:30 the Spurs at the Mavericks. 10 o'clock, the Cavaliers at the Trailblazers. 10:30 on ESPN, the Pelicans at the Warriors. Warriors are a 7-point favorite. I think Golden State wins and covers. That's just simple. The Warriors are back to being the Warriors. That's what last night proved by all accounts. And those little performances that had everybody say, wow, against those bad teams were proven to be more good performances against bad teams as they went out and destroyed Denver in Denver. I think they're going to put a number on the Pelicans, too. And the Pelicans, to me, are a team that's been playing better of late, but they're running into a buzzsaw on Golden State. So give me the Warriors, and I'm laying the 7. And then the Jazz at the Clippers is another big game tonight, which would have been more intriguing for me to be on ESPN than Pelicans-Warriors, because Pelicans-Warriors, to me, is a little bit predictable. And Jazz-Clippers, I think, is going to be a close one in Staples Center tonight. NHL. Last night was a pretty big slate. The Rangers defeat the Hurricanes 6-2. A nice performance by Henrik Lundqvist and the Rangers. 19-20-7 on the year. Carolina's 22-19-5. Number 1 star of the game with 2 goals and 2 assists. Mika Zibanejad. Number 2 star of the game with 3 assists. Matsu Gorello. Number 3 star of the game with 2 goals. Pavel Buchnevich. The Islanders defeat the Blues 2-1 in overtime. A very good win for the Islanders. A game that they probably didn't deserve to win, but they got it anyway. 26-15-4. St. Louis is 20-20-5. Number 1 star of the game with the overtime winner, Valtteri Filppula. Number 2 star of the game with the goal, Jordan Eberle. And the number 3 star of the game with the goal, David Perron. The Blue Jackets defeat the Devils 4-1. A good win for Columbus. And a much-needed one, too. They're now in first place in the Metro Division. 28-15-3 on the year. Devils are 18-21-7. Number 1 star of the game with a goal and assist, Pierre-Luc Dubois. Number 2 star of the game with a goal and an assist, Cam Atkinson. And the number 3 star of the game with 29 saves on 30 shots, Jonas Korpisalo. The Canadiens defeat the Panthers 5-1, an impressive win for Montreal on the second of a back-to-back. They are 26-17-5. Florida is 17-20-8. Number 1 star of the game at 52 saves on 53 shots, Antemi Niemi. Number 2 star of the game with a goal, Max Domi. Number 3 star of the game with a goal and an assist, Shea Weber. The Red Wings defeat the Ducks 3-1. Detroit is now 18-23-7. Anaheim losing streak hits 12 as they drop to 19-19-9. Number 1 star of the game with a goal, Gustav Nyquist. Number 2 star of the game with 23 saves on 24 shots, Jimmy Howard. Number 3 star of the game with the goal, Anthony Mantha. The Predators defeat the Capitals 7-2, an impressive win for Nashville as they go to 28-16-4. Washington drops to 27-14-5. Number 1 star of the game with a hat trick, Victor Edvardsen. Number 2 star of the game with 2 goals, Nick Bonino. Number 3 star of the game with 2 assists, Ryan Johansson. The Wild defeat the Kings 3-2 in a shootout in a game that was on NBCSN last night as Minnesota gets the big, much-needed win to go to 23-20-3. LA drops to 18-25-4. Number 1 star of the game didn't have a point in the game, but just had a good game, Jason Zucker. Number 2 star of the game with 31 saves on 33 shots, Alex Stalock. And the number 3 star of the game with a goal, Eric Stahl. The Jets defeat the Golden Knights 4-1. Impressive in performance by the Golden Knights as they go to 30-14-2. Vegas drops to 28-17-4. Number 1 star of the game with 43 saves on 44 shots. Backup goaltender Laurent Brossoit. Number 2 started the game with 2 goals and an assist, Kyle Connor. Number 3 started the game with a goal, Brandon Peary. The Lightning defeat the Stars 2-0. A good win for Tampa Bay. Good bounce-back win after that debacle of a loss to the Islanders. Tampa goes to 36-9-2. Dallas drops to 23-20-4. Number 1 started the game with 35 saves on 35 shots, Andrei Vasilevsky. Number 2 started the game with a goal, Mikhail Sergachev. And number 3 started the game with an assist, Steven Stamkos. Funny thing about this game is that was Ben Bishop against his former team. I just came across that right now. The Sharks defeat the Penguins 5-2 for their 7th straight victory as San Jose improves to 28-13-7. Pittsburgh drops to 25-15-6. Number 1 started the game with a hat trick, Thomas Hertl. Number 2 started the game with 3 assists, Evander Kane. And number 2 started the game with 2 assists, Brendan Dillon. Small slate tonight. 5 games. 7 o'clock, the Avalanche at the Senators. 7:30 on the NBC Sports Network, the Bruins at the Flyers. John Forslund, Eddie Olczyk, and Brian Boucher on the call. Boston's been playing good hockey lately. This feels like a trap game for them, but I do think they get away with the win. I just don't think this is the Flyers' year. Wayne Simmons is going to be mentioned in trade rumors. There's even some talk that former number 2 overall pick Nolan Patrick can be had with his underperformance. 9:30, the Sabres at the Flames. 10 o'clock, the Oilers at the Canucks. And 10 o'clock on NBCSN, the Sharks at the Coyotes. The Sharks are on the second of a back-to-back, but they are by far the better team than the Coyotes, so give me the Sharks on the road. So I'm going to say both road teams on national TV get wins tonight. Now we'll move on to the Australian Open. We'll start with the women's. We're just going to go through the results, and then we'll pick the winners for today's matches. Caroline Garcia defeats Zoe Hives. Petra Martic, your 19 seed. Your 31 seed. Caroline Garcia is the 19 seed. 31 seeded Petra Markovic defeats Marketa Vondrousova. Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova knocks off 9 seeded Kiki Bertens. Alexandra Sasnovich upsets 20 seeded Annette Kontaviet. Solane Stevens, your 5 seed, defeats Timea Babos. 15 seeded Ashley Barty defeats Wang Yafan. Maria Sakkari defeats Astra Sharma. Amanda Anisimova upsets number 24 seeded Lysia Sarenko. Danielle Rose Collins defeats Sasha Vickery. And Kimberly Burrell defeats Donna Vecic. Caroline Wozniacki, your 3 seed, defeats Johanna Larson. 11 seeded Irina Sabalenka defeats Katie Bolter. Belinda Bencic defeats Yulia Puntitseva. 8 seeded Petra Kvotova knocks off Irina Camelia Boju. 2 seeded Angelique Kerber defeats Beatriz Haddad Maria. And 30 seeded Maria Sharapova defeats Rebecca Peterson. Now I'm going to pick tonight's matches in round 2 to close it out. 27 seeded Camelia Georgi and Iga Swiatek. Give me Georgi there. Bianca Andreescu and Anastasia Sevastova, your 13th seed. Give me Sevastova. 21 seeded Wang Qiang against Alexandra Krunik. Give me Qiang there. Madison Brengel against 7 seeded Carolina Pliskova. I think Brengel has a great chance, but give me Pliskova there. She's just a better tennis player than Brengel, although I think Brengel's a tennis player that's trending upward. Victoria Kuzmova against number 6 seeded Alina Svitolina. Give me Svitolina there. 12 seeded Elise Mertens against Margarita Gasparian. Give me Mertens. Laura Siegmund against 28 seeded Hishi Sui. Give me Hishi Sui there. Next up you have Timea Baskinski against Natalia Vinchel-Letseva. Give me Biskinski. 4-seeded Naomi Osaka against Tamara Zdensic. Give me Osaka there. Anastasia Potapova against number 17-seeded Madison Keys. Give me Madison Keys. Zhang Suhei against Carolina Pliskova. Give me Pliskova there. Elise Cornet against Venus Williams. Give me Venus. Number 1-seeded Simona Halep against Sophia Kenin. Give me Halep. And your overnighters for tonight into tomorrow, you have Carla Suarez Navarro against Diana Yastremka. Give me Suarez Navarro. Eugenie Bouchard against 16-seeded Serena Williams. Give me Serena all the way. And Johanna Konta against number 18-seeded Gabrine Muguruza. Give me Muguruza there. And then round 3 begins tomorrow night. On to the men's side of things now. Nicolos Bistolivi defeats Stefano Travaglia. And Bilashivi, by the way, are 19 seed. 18-seeded Diego Schwartzman defeats Dennis Kudla. 14-seeded Stefano Sipius defeats Victor Truicki. Andreas Seppi defeats Jordan Thompson. Tomas Berdych defeats Robin Haas. 6-seeded Marine Klitsch defeats Mackenzie McDonald. Francis Tiafoe upsets 5-seeded Kevin Anderson. That was a shocker for me. Fernando Verdasco, your 26 seed, defeats Radu Albot. 3-seeded Roger Federer knocks off Dan Evans. Taylor Fritz upsets the 30-seed Gael Monfils. And 10-seeded Karen Khachanov defeats Yoshihito Nishioka. And then your overnighters from midnight on. Thomas Fabiano defeated Riley Opelka. 22-seeded Roberto Bautista Agut defeated John Millman. 20-seeded Gergov Dimitrov defeated Pablo Cuevas. 27-seeded Alex de Minaur defeated Henry Lassokinen. And 2-seeded Rafael Nadal knocks off Matthew Ebden. And on to tonight to close out round 2. You have Ivo Karlovic against 8-seeded Kei Nishioka. Give me Kei Nishioka. Ilya Ivashka against 23-seeded Pablo Carreno Busta. Give me Carreno Busta. 11-seeded Borna Koric against Marton Fasiliovich. Give me Koric. 32-seeded Philip Kohlschreiber against Joao Sosa. Give me Kohlschreiber. Stan Wawrinka against 16-seeded Milos Raonic. Give me Raonic. 12-seeded Fabio Fognini against Leonardo Mayer. Give me Fognini there. Evgeny Donskoy against Filip Krajinovic. Give me Krajinovic. 21-seeded David Goffin against Marius Kopel. Give me Goffin. 24-seeded Chung Hyung against Pierre Hughes Herbert. Give me Chung Hyung there. 28-seeded Lucas Paoli against Max Martyrer. Give me the upset. I like Max Martyrer here to upset Lucas Paoli. And then Ryan Harrison against 15-seeded Daniil Medvedev. Give me Medvedev there. And then the overnight, from midnight on to 5:30 in the morning Eastern time, you have Alex Bolt against 29-seeded Giles Simone. Give me Simone there. Taro Daniel against number 25-seeded Denis Shapovalov. Give me Shapovalov there. Alexei Papryan against 7-seeded Dominic Thiem. Give me Thiem. Alexander Zverev against Jeremy Chardy. Give me Zverev there. And last but not least, Novak Djokovic against Joe Wilfred Tsonga. I'm not betting against my 1-seed Djokovic. I really think Djokovic can go far. in this tournament. And then tomorrow night begins round 3 for the men's as well. Before I go, I'm going to do NFL Power Rankings, ranking the 4 playoff teams remaining, and then discuss the storylines of the 4 possible Super Bowl matchups. Number 4 is the Los Angeles Rams. Yes, they put on a good performance against the Cowboys, but they could have done a lot more in that game, in my opinion. Number 3, the New England Patriots. That was a pretty darn impressive win against the Chargers at home. That was the best I've seen them look all season. 2, the Kansas City Chiefs. They probably have the worst defense left among the playoff teams. But Patrick Mahomes is just a special player, the MVP favorite, and it's tough betting against him right now. And number 1 is the New Orleans Saints. This is the best team remaining. No, they didn't look entirely great that whole game against the Eagles. They were down 14-0, and then their defense prevailed, and then their offense finally got going. They did miss a field goal that would have ensured them the cover in that game, but they didn't. And impossible Super Bowl matchups. Saints-Chiefs, you have the 2 1 seeds, which the Super Bowl's been the 2 1 seeds. I believe it's 5 of the last 6 years. With the exception being the Falcons against the Patriots a few years back when the Falcons were a 2 seed. And then the other one being actually the Patriots when they were the 2 seed the year of the Flakegate. And Denver was the 1 seed that year, I believe. So I guess it's 4 of the last 6 years where both 1 seeds made the Super Bowl. You have Drew Brees and Patrick Mahomes, the 2 leaders in the clubhouse for MVP. I think Mahomes should be ahead of Brees because Brees is on a better team than Mahomes, and Mahomes is the sole reason why the Chiefs are here, in my opinion. Although Brees is obviously the MVP of the Saints, but the Saints, my point is that the Saints have more talent than the Chiefs. And then you have Andy Reid against Sean Payton. Those 2 coaches have had some battles in the past when Reid was coaching with Philly. And then the Saints against the Patriots, you have 2 quarterbacks who are 40 years old, or over 40 years old, and arguably the 2 best quarterbacks over the past decade. And I think Brees is very underrated, by the way. Although Peyton Manning, you could argue for 2. I'm talking about the past 10 years. And then Sean Payton against Bill Belichick's obviously intriguing too. And then the Rams against the Chiefs, that would be a rematch of an earlier season matchup when those teams combined for over 100 points on Monday Night Football. And the game was supposed to be in Mexico City, and then it ended up being in Los Angeles when the Rams prevailed against Kansas City. And then you have Rams-Patriots in the sense of the Rams met the Patriots in the Super Bowl back when Kurt Warner was their quarterback. And I believe Brady's first Super Bowl came against the Rams. And then obviously the best young coach in the league against the best veteran/older coach in the league. If we ended up with the Patriots-Rams Super Bowl. And last but not least, I'm going to provide you my best bet, brought to you by FanDuel. Laying $1 here to win $6.07 as my payout. I'm going with the Portland Trail Blazers. They're playing the Cavs. The Warriors, they're playing the Pelicans. Louisville against Georgia Tech. Campbell, Liberty, Winthrop, Vermont, UC Irvine. The Calgary Flames, they're playing a struggling Sabres team. Katie Shiorki, Alina Civiltina, and Carolina Pliskova in tennis. And that's it for today. I'll be back tomorrow recapping college basketball, NBA, NHL. Look ahead to tomorrow's slate in each of those sports. I'll give you NBA power rankings. We'll talk more Bryce Harper, Manny Machado, and what's up with those guys. Maybe one of those guys will be signed by the time we run up a podcast tomorrow. You never know. And I hope you guys have a great day, everybody.